At almost 60 years old, Riddick Bowe's horrifying crimes still haunt those who remember when he was boxing's beloved champion. His ex-wife's revelations paint a picture of a man whose greatest victories in the ring couldn't mask the darkness that would eventually destroy everything he built. This is the story of how Big Daddy became a cautionary tale of wasted potential and shocking violence. In November 1992, Riddick Bowe stood atop the boxing world. The charismatic giant from Brownsville had just dethroned the undefeated Evander Holyfield to become the undisputed heavyweight champion. Standing 6'5" with an 81-inch reach, Bowe was blessed with a rare combination of size, speed, and devastating power. His victory over Holyfield wasn't just a win, it was a masterpiece. The 10th round of that fight, where Bowe battered Holyfield only for the champion to storm back with incredible heart, became legendary as the round of the year. But even at his peak, the seeds of destruction were already planted. Behind the portrait of a perfect fighting machine lay a fundamental flaw that would plague Bowe throughout his career. His greatest physical asset, his natural size and strength, was linked to his greatest weakness, a complete lack of discipline. His legendary trainer, Eddie Futch, was constantly frustrated because Bowe's training camps became grueling weight loss sessions rather than skill refinement. Bowe would arrive at camp 30 pounds or more overweight, forcing precious time to be wasted shedding pounds instead of preparing strategy. This constant battle against the scales was the first warning sign of deeper issues. The self-sabotage that would define his life first appeared in a business decision that stained his legacy forever. After defeating Holyfield, Bowe's mandatory challenger was Lennox Lewis, his old amateur nemesis. Instead of facing this dangerous opponent, Bowe and his manager refused to negotiate. The dispute reached its infamous climax at a London press conference, where Bowe held up the WBC belt and dramatically dumped it into a trash can. This act wasn't defiance, it was cowardice. Many saw it as a blatant duck of his most dangerous rival. If you're fascinated by how champions fall from grace, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we're just getting started with this tragic story. By surrendering the WBC title, Bowe gave up his claim as undisputed champion. He followed this controversial decision with two uninspired defenses against easy opponents. He demolished the aging Michael Dokes in 1 round and knocked out journeyman Jesse Ferguson in 2. While these fights earned paychecks, they did nothing to maintain his skills or focus. The decision to avoid Lewis contributed directly to his loss of momentum and discipline. The end of Bowe's elite career came in 2 brutal encounters with Andrew Golota in 1996. These weren't victories. They were savage beatings that Bowe survived only because Golota was repeatedly disqualified for intentional low blows. In July 1996, an out-of-shape Bowe was thoroughly outboxed and battered by the skilled but unstable Polish fighter. The rematch in December was equally brutal. Golota dropped Bowe and was leading on the scorecards before being disqualified again. The real damage was neurological. The post-fight interview after the second Golota fight became a chilling artifact of decline. As HBO's Larry Merchant tried to question him, Bowe's speech was severely slurred and almost incomprehensible. His cognitive deterioration was so apparent that Merchant, on live television, urged him to retire from the sport. The punishment Bowe absorbed in those fights wasn't just the end of his boxing career, it became the foundation for what would happen next. After retiring, Bowe was completely adrift. Without the structure of training camps and fights, his behavior became increasingly erratic. His desperate attempt to find new discipline led him to enlist in the Marine Corps Reserve in February 1997. He claimed he wanted to make his mother proud and eventually return to boxing. But arriving at the notorious Paris Island recruit depot, Bowe quit after just 3 days of training. Unable to handle the physical demands and loss of his millionaire lifestyle, his military career became a public metaphor for his state of mind. His personal life continued disintegrating. Police were called to his home for altercations with family members. These incidents painted a clear picture of a man losing control, frustrated by his premature retirement, and unable to manage life without boxing's singular focus. He was a world-famous athlete cut off in his prime, and the void left by boxing was being filled with chaos and violence. On February 25, 1998, Riddick Bowe's personal turmoil erupted into a terrifying criminal act. He drove to the North Carolina home of his estranged wife and childhood sweetheart, Judy Bowe. He wasn't there to talk. He arrived armed with a knife, handcuffs, duct tape, and pepper spray. After forcing his way into the house, he confronted Judy and forced her and their 5 children, aged between 2 and 11, into a vehicle. His stated goal was to drive them to his Maryland home in a desperate attempt to reconcile their failing marriage. The journey became an ordeal of terror. At some point during the drive, in an act that destroyed any claim of loving intent, Bowe stabbed Judy in the chest with the knife, inflicting a superficial but significant wound. After driving for hours, he stopped at a restaurant in South Hill, Virginia. There, Judy managed to call her sister, who alerted police. Authorities quickly arrived and found the former heavyweight champion with his captive family. The man once known as Big Daddy, who had images of his children tattooed on his chest, had become their kidnapper. The legal proceedings stretched for years through plea bargains, controversial rulings, and appeals. To avoid more severe federal kidnapping charges carrying a maximum 10-year sentence, Bowe pleaded guilty to interstate domestic violence with an agreed sentencing range of 18 to 24 months. But the sentencing hearing took a stunning turn. The prosecution was outraged. Assistant U.S. Attorney Ken Bell publicly called it the boxer's exception, suggesting Bowe's celebrity and profession had allowed him to escape appropriate punishment. The government immediately appealed. In July 2001, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals issued a scathing ruling, finding that Bowe had violated his plea agreement. After all appeals were exhausted, Bowe was finally sentenced and served 17 months in federal prison. His release from prison didn't mark redemption, but continued decline. Determined to return to boxing, his comeback became a tragic spectacle highlighting how far he had fallen. His 2004 return featured a second-round knockout of an outmatched opponent, but his next fight exposed the grim reality. The most pathetic chapter came in June 2013. At age 45 and weighing 300 pounds, Bowe participated in a Muay Thai match in Thailand. In a humiliating display, he was knocked down 5 times in less than 2 rounds without landing a single blow. The event was held at a venue with the atmosphere of a village fairground, a painful illustration of how far the former undisputed champion had sunk. Parallel to his physical decline was complete financial collapse. Despite earning an estimated $75 to $80 million during his career, Bowe filed for bankruptcy in October 2005. While he blamed his former manager Rock Newman for stealing $15 million, a lawsuit against Newman was thrown out. Bowe's own lack of discipline was clearly significant in his financial ruin. At his peak, he owned 26 luxury cars. His inability to practice restraint made his financial destruction almost inevitable. Subscribe now to see more stories about how fame and fortune can't protect athletes from their own worst impulses. The aftermath has been a life of struggle. Forced to take regular jobs, including working as a bus driver, Bowe has turned to social media to charge fans for personalized tweets. In a particularly sad moment, he used a GoFundMe campaign asking for donations to help him stay in his home. In 2015, he became part owner of a small rotisserie chicken restaurant in Harlem, a modest enterprise for a man who once earned millions per fight. To assess Riddick Bowe's legacy is to confront profound contradiction. He cannot be remembered simply as a champion, nor defined solely as a convict. His legacy is an inseparable, fractured whole, breathtaking brilliance forever shadowed by devastating ruin. His career earned him a place in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and his trilogy with Evander Holyfield stands as one of boxing's greatest rivalries. At his best, Bowe was magnificent, a man whose combination of size, skill, and power made him formidable against any heavyweight in any era. Yet this brilliance is permanently stained by profound tragedy. His story warns about wasted potential, of talent so immense it was matched only by his lack of discipline to sustain it. Most significantly, it's the story of a man who committed horrific crimes against his own family, acts of violence that permanently overshadow his athletic achievements. Ultimately, Riddick Bowe's legacy serves as a cautionary tale about fame without guidance, the hidden costs of violent glory, and the devastating consequences when a man's greatest opponent is himself. He was a champion who conquered the world, but could never conquer the darkness within. His fractured story reminds us that no amount of talent or success can protect someone from their own destructive impulses when discipline and character fail.